Howdy, and welcome to Broken Tool Garage. This video is going to go over doing the modifications on the 70 Dodge truck to put a more modern radiator in. Now, more modern being the 81 to 93-ish radiator. Those are more readily available and a bit more cost friendly than buying one for one of these, which I could do, but I'd need to get a bank loan to get one of those, right? So what I'm going to be putting in is, actually I was running at my 85 Ramcharger. I pulled parts off of that to get this project done, right? And it's for the 85 Ramcharger. It's an all aluminum radiator. Got it at the parts store for like $117, lifetime warranty. So that's kind of the appeal there of making the modifications to put one of those radiators in here, right? So let's get to the nut and bolts and cuts and whatever we got to do to get this in. Let's get started on that. Okay, that's where the regular mounting pattern is, right? We see there. Now, I already have the clutch fan in, which this vehicle would not come with a clutch fan. It'd come with a non-clutch fan. And I could run one of those, but, you know, this poor 318 doesn't make enough horsepower just to throw 25, 30 horsepower away, right? So we got our fan trowel that matches the fan, and we got our radiator over here. There's the back side of it, front side. So we see where the fan mount is, right there. And what I'm going to do is kind of see where this fan trowel aligns up, right? And what we're trying to do, if you look in there, it doesn't have to sit all the way in. The fan doesn't, right? It can sit all the way up to about halfway through the blades. It does fit through there. So we could do a fitment to where this flange is pretty much sitting behind the factory flange, right? The other thing of note is I measured it, and the fan on the engine sets that way just a little bit. When I go to put the radiator in, when I test fit that in there, the gap between here and here is too narrow. So this gap has to increase. We can't go anywhere this way because the battery tray is in the way. So we're going to have to go that way with the offset with the width of the radiator. And unfortunately, these flanges, that's kind of the small one, that's the big one, and that's the side that I can't go towards. We have to shift it back that way. So I'm going to go ahead and get my mark done on here where I think it needs to be, do some measurements on here. Now that, just like I said, I did the quick measurements. I know right about there is where I want the radiator, the fan trowel to set. And this isn't super exact. You don't have to get it to the millimeter or micron or whatever. You got a lot of wiggle room with this in every direction. So what I'm going to do is look at this face right here as if this was sitting on that face. And then I'm going to come over here and measure the radiator, because that's what this face is right here, right? So from there to there is where that has to mount. Once I have that, I can mark it on this flange right here, right? Because what I'm going to try to do to begin with is just cut a notch in there instead of cutting the whole flange out. Just cut a notch and see if I can drop the radiator down in there and check my alignment. Okay, the radiator mounting flange from the surface where the shroud mounts to the back of the actual radiator mounting surface is about 2 inches. So I'm going to measure, if I were to say I'm going to mount right here, I'm going to measure back 2 inches, and I'm going to mark it with this black Sharpie marker on the black surface, and hopefully I can see it, right? So let's just go ahead and get that done. I'll come in here and get sneaky with it. Like I said, it don't have to be super, super exact. So there's 2 inches right there. So right about that, I'll double check my mark. It's kind of hard to do. It's like stuff's in the way or something, right? Okay, we're pretty close right there. I like that. So I think that's where I want to start my notch, right there. And I'm going to notch it probably back a little ways, maybe an 1/8 inch. Now it should allow that radiator to slide down in there. That's the theory anyway. So to do that, I think I'm just going to go ahead and just take my angle cutter or cutoff wheel and cut down there and cut down there and just peel that notch out. And of course I have to come in here and draw some straight lines on it, but that'll give me a rough idea of what's going to occur when I start doing this. We may have to take this flange out. I'll try not to do that if all possible, but we'll see where this is going to lead to. All right, what's in there? We got it all hacked up. Let's take a closer look at what we got going on with this thing right here. Okay, we're hitting the bottom right there. We got that curvature right here where it curves up. So we got a lot of room there, and we're hitting right at the corner. So if we look over here, we're touching, and we got a little bit of room before we hit that spot right there, but we can't come over any further. Now that's important because our fan shroud doesn't fit. So the upper, I could get the upper to fit, but it's hitting the fan, right? So if I brought that down, it just ain't gonna work. Now, a couple things we could do. We could, I'd have that light there. So we could, if we had a broke fan shroud, we just cut the upper part off and just use the upper half of it. That's pretty common right there. That one's not broke, so I'm not messing with it. The other thing, we could come over here and cut this flange. But modifying your lifetime warranty part usually voids that warranty, so we don't want to do that. And lastly, we could get into this whole battery tray thing, and I'm not going down that rabbit hole. So what we're going to do is get the flashlight turned off, and we're going to go ahead and get this mounted, get it squared up as best as we can right there, get it to where it's not hitting or anything, get it solid, because we see our radiator hose, our height is good, our distance is good. We're going to keep that right there, mount it, and deal with the fan shroud later, because this is a radiator upgrade, not a radiator and fan shroud upgrade. But I'll have to come up with something creative on that. That is not a big deal. Generic ones can be bought. I can make one. I don't want to buy one of these new. That's the last thing. And I might go and look in my junk pile to see if I have another one that's broke. Because I do have a stash of these. If I find a broken one, then I might take that and put on here. The thing is, this mounting pattern across the way has to match. That's going to be the trick if I get some generic one or something, is trying to get that to match. So I kind of don't want to do that. So I may fabricate one up and put that on there. And just do, you know, like the halfway around or something like that. That way it's drawing a little bit more through the radiator. Okay, I got my 1x1 square tubing. What I'm going to be doing is cutting these in 1-inch segments right here, and I'll drill a hole in the middle of both sides. I'm going to do 3 of those because that last one's kind of funny shape. We'll have to deal with that separately, use something different on that. So what I like to do is take my angle grinder and on my mark, go in and get it started, and then take the Sawzall and just cut the thing right off, right? That's the quickest way. The angle grinder gets it done, but it takes longer and you're throwing sparks everywhere. That Sawzall will just cut it off, but it likes to cut crooked and bounce around and all that. So that's why I do the little notch first and then cut that off. So I'm going to do 3 of these, get the holes drilled. I'm going to mount onto the radiator. The holes I'm going to be doing is a 1/4 or 1/4-inch hole for a 1/4 And I do have weld nuts I could use on here, but I'll probably just do a bolt and a nut on there, mount these to the radiator, and then I'll go into the body. Then I can mark the body, drill holes, do the same thing. And if I want to use a weld nut, I could, but I probably won't on this. I got plenty nuts and bolts and everything for that. And it's in. Well, it's not completely locked down, but I went ahead and riveted these 2 right here. They turned out good. I need to get me some good sets of bolts and get those in there, but that does line up. This one was a little tougher over here to get to. Just take your time with it. I did have to take this hole right here, the slot on there, and slot it just slightly more. But we're all mocked up and I'm ready to do my final hardware. Everything's cleaned up. We do have clearance, barely. So whenever I'm doing that, I may come in here and grind that down just a little bit, not the radiator to frame side, just to give a little bit more clearance in there, right? But that's how you do it right there. Fan shroud, we're actually, if I could find a broke factory one, I could get all 4 holes to mount up on there. I just need to cut the very bottom side of it off, and that'd be fine. If I can find one of those, that's good, but that's going to be on fan shroud. If I do a video on that, I don't know. Figure out what I'm going to do there, and if it's something super simple like I got a broke one and bolted on, I'm not going to do a video on that, right? But if I have to get into some pretty nifty fabricating, well, you see my fabrication. It's probably not nifty, but it does get the job done. But anyways, I think that's where we're going to stop on this video, getting that in there. There's one check. We probably should check the hood clearance, but honestly, it sits lower than a carburetor. I better check it. So we're going to check that right quick and close this video out. Appreciate you watching. See you next time on Broken Tool Garage.